Hi guys, today we are going to learn about chess. And chess is a game made in India from wars. Let's start with one piece, the pawn. The pawn at a starting point can move two spaces, and then soon it can move one space. Then it will be next for black. It can do the same thing. Then it can move one space. But pawns can take sideways. Taking is removing a piece from the board. So that's how it works. Then just move this pawn here. Right. When a pawn moves forward like this, and another pawn moves two steps forward, this only works for pawns. It can do this, taking from below or above. Without the piece being there, the pawn not being there, it can still take it. This is called en passant, which is French, and the meaning is en passing. It takes a piece from over there. Then, this is actually very common. But a pawn can only move forward and take sideways. When a pawn goes to the edge of the board, it can promote. It can turn into a bishop, rook, knight, or queen. I'll tell you the moves later. The next one will be a bishop. A bishop moves diagonally. There's two bishops, black and white bishops, because these bishops can only move in one kind of color, white or black. Bishops cannot promote, only pawns. And it takes anywhere in its diagonal. For example, this bishop takes this pawn. This bishop takes the other bishop. And when there is another piece in front of it, the bishop cannot go behind, but can take the piece that is blocking it. For example, this. That is how it works. But there's another piece that is special. The knight. The knight moves in an L shape. 2 steps forward, 1 step to the right or left. It happens on the other side too. 1 step forward, 2 steps right or left. I'll show you. Also, this piece can go over pieces, like this. There's a pawn here that should block the knight, but it can go over the knight. The knight can go over the pawn, like this. And it's pretty much like the same thing. If the knight goes over here, it can take the bishop, because it is in its space. The knight can now take the bishop because it is in its space and can go over any kind of piece. But when its L shape goes in a piece that is not white, or if black's piece is going to another black piece, it cannot take it. Only if there's a different piece and that piece attacks the other piece, then it can take it out of the board. Like this. And finally, we're going to talk about the next piece, the rook. The rook can move left, right, up, and down. So, this rook has one thing. There's 2 kinds of rooks for 2 kinds of places. And when they're stacked up or they're connected, they protect each other and they are able to attack most of the pieces. Like this. If this rook takes this rook can take this rook. So both of them are protecting and the other rook died. Or maybe taken out of the board. The next piece, the queen. The queen is a very powerful piece. Imagine you take the bishop and the rook and combine them. You get the queen. It can move like the bishop and the rook, as what I said. The queen can move like this in so many spaces. And it is very strong. It's called the strongest piece in chess. Also, every single piece has points. The pawn has 1 point. If you take it, you get 1 point, plus 1. If you take the bishop and the knight, you get plus 3 points. If you take the rook, you get plus 5 points. If you take the queen, you get plus 9. You can't take the king, you can only checkmate it. I'll tell you. When a piece goes to the king actually gets checked because the king is the most important piece. When the king can move, it's called a check. Like this. The king can move in any sort of space. But when a king isn't able to move in any sort of place in the game, it is called a checkmate. I'll show you. So, this king is going to get checkmated. Queen over here. Dead. Goes here, it goes here. And when there's no more spaces for the king to move, it's called a checkmate. Just right. Go here, and then go. Wait. And then, when the piece goes here, it's called a checkmate. The king has nowhere to go, and it's checked. It can take a piece, but when the piece is checked, when the piece is protected, like this pawn, it cannot take the piece because it'll get checked. So it has to go. Or move. And I want to tell you one special thing. Castling. Castling typically happens when you move a piece. Let's say this pawn. And then you move up your bishop. And then you move your knight, and there's space between the king and the rook. This is called short side castling. This can happen when there's a king and a rook. When you're in check, you cannot castle, but if you're not in check and you never moved your king, you can castle. Like this. And there's another way to castle. It's called queenside castling. It's where you castle on the queen side, also known as long side castling. You go here, and then no piece should block the king and the rook. If the rook moves, you cannot do a castling on that side. And it can only happen if there's a piece over there, you cannot castle in that place. But castling is a very great way to protect your pieces. Mostly your king, because now your king cannot get attacked. When you are in a castle, your pawns must move as an escape way. So when you get checked, you can move your king to safety. And that is how you can actually play chess. Thank you everyone. I hope you learned everything, and see you next time. Bye bye.